moments to relax and be present and be aware of our bodies. So if you can, sit back, relax, and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Rome is Italy's capital city since 1871 and is the capital of the region Lazio, which is in central Italy. It is the most populated city in Italy with more than 4.3 million people living there. And Rome is often defined as the capital of two countries because of Vatican City. Vatican City is the smallest country in the world and is a completely independent country inside the city of Rome. Just to give you an idea of how Rome is famous, everybody knows Rome. Rome has about between 15 and 16 million tourists per year. And amongst them, more than 7 million are usually going to visit the Colosseum that then later we'll see together. The name Roma comes from the city's legendary founder, first king Romulus, Romolo in Italian. The she-wolf with the twins that you see in this slide is the symbol of the city. In the beginning, the area where Rome was founded was inhabited mostly by farmers called the Latins. Under the Emperor Augustus, the Romans felt the need to tell a different story about their origin, and that's how the emperor commissioned the writer Virgil to write this story, this legend about the founding of Rome, and he created the Aeneid. This story opens in Troy. The fallen city, you'll all remember the Trojan horse and Ulysses and the Greeks and the defeat of the city of Troy. Aeneas and his father and his young son were able to survive the destruction of the city. They escaped and they went through numerous adventures before they landed in the coast of Lazio, and they found the city of Alba Longa, which became later the city of Rome. So Romulus and Remus are the great-grandchildren of Aeneas. The twins, stating to the legend, were son of Rea Silvia. Rea Silvia was a Vestal virgin, so she was a priest, actually. And one day she was raped by Mars, the god of war, and she had these twin boys. To save the twins' life from death, she decided to abandon the twins in a basket along the river Tiber, Tevere in Italian, and the twins were found and raised by this she-wolf, and that's how it became the symbol of the city of Rome. And then when they grew up, basically Romulus killed the brother Remo and became the first king of Rome. The area around the river Tiber was already inhabited more than 10,000 years ago. So we're now in the Paleolithic and Neolithic era. The city of Rome was founded later, April 1st, 753 BC. This is the date of the foundation of Rome. After the legendary foundation by Romolo, Rome was ruled for over 200 years by a monarchy system, by the 7 kings. 3 of these kings were of Etruscan origin. In 509 BC, the Romans expelled the last king, Tarquinio il Superbo, and they established a republic that was based on nobility. The republic was governed by 2 councils controlled by the Senate. In the Senate, they had 300 fathers called the patricians. And this is how we have the famous Senatus Populusque Romanus, the SPQR, that is in every building, ancient building in Rome, and you can still find it even in manholes covered all over the city. Roma soon became very powerful and conquered the entire Italian peninsula first, and then the islands of Sicily and Sardinia and Corsica, and later Spain and Africa. But the conquer of part of French called Gaul, Gallia, made a general of the Roman Empire, Julius Caesar, very, very powerful. And after a civil war against the Republic, Cesare established himself as a dictator for life. Then after his assassination by his stepson, Bruto, there was a time where we had three rulers, Ottaviano, Marco Antonio, and Lepido. In 27 BC, Octavian, took the title of Augustus and became the first emperor. With Octavian starts a period of peace that lasts for over 200 years and that is known as the Pax Romana. And the empire expanded, and they arrived in what is known today as Britain, where the Romans founded Londinium, Londra, in 69. After that, after Augustus, we had several emperors. Some of the most famous are, for example, Nero, who's known to be the most cruel emperor of the empire, and who became famous for the Great Fire of Rome. We have Flaviano, that is famous for the Colosseum, and we also have Diocletiano, that decide to split again the power amongst the four rulers. In 313, AC, Emperor Constantine the Great moved his residence to Constantinople. And with the Edict of Milan, he granted freedom of worship to everyone. In 395, with Emperor Theodosio, Christian religion became the official religion of the empire. And then Theodosio decided to split the empire amongst his two sons, Honorius and Arcadius. This is basically the end of the Western Roman Empire. Rome was sacked in 410 by the Visigoth, led by Alaric. And then in 440, the last emperor, Romulus Augustus, was deposed. So the date of the end of the Western Roman Empire is 476. The greatness of the Roman Empire was mostly that Romans were able to absorb custom and traditions from every conquered population. So the inclusion of different cultures was the key of the power of the empire. I'm going to show you this video about ancient history because, it's really important for the city of Rome to understand the city itself.
The story of ancient Rome.
But so who were the Romans? I want to give you some fact about the Roman society. Starting from religion, Romans believed in God and goddesses who ruled over different areas of their lives. We had Neptune, who was the god of the ocean. Mars was the god of war. Jupiter was the king of all gods, and Juno, who was Jupiter's wife and the queen of gods. And then we have Venus, the goddess of beauty and love, and many, many other. All gods and goddesses had very different personalities, and they behaved exactly like humans. So they got hungry. They were very cruel sometimes, and they had all the feelings and emotion of the human beings, and they all lived in the Mount Olympus. The color purple on clothes. Purple is known as the color of royalty. It was a very rare and hard to extract, which made it really expensive. To own a spool of purple wool would cost what an average citizen would earn in 1 year. So it was extremely expensive. So only really very wealthy people could afford purple clothes. Restrooms in Rome were public starting from under the Emperor Vespasiano, and that's how they're known today. If you say the word Vespasiano in Italian, it refers to public restrooms. Of course, you didn't have any privacy, but you could have a conversation with your neighbors while doing your business. Romans are known for bathhouses called terme. These were really large facilities. They held a gymnasium and 3 different bathing areas. Of course, they were separated for men and women. So the routine was to start in the gym with an actual workout, and then to use the frigidarium, which is the cold water, then the tepidarium, which is the medium water, and the calidarium, which is the hot water. And then they were repeating everything in reverse. Roman women were not allowed to enter the courthouse, so they didn't have any role in the political life. But they could move around as they please without a chaperone. So they did have more freedom compared to other ancient populations. They could buy and sell properties, and they could go to a gender-specific bathhouse, as we mentioned. Young girls were usually educated to read and write. Of course, we're talking about the upper and middle class, not, of course, the poor citizen. However, women were they were getting married really, really young. When they were 15, they were usually all married. And the average life expectancy rate in ancient Rome for women was about 25 years. And the main reason is that childbirth mortality rates were extremely high. Romans were known, as we saw in the video, for their engineering skills. Aqueducts were one of the greatest architectural achievements of the ancient world, and they were pumping hundreds of gallons of water every day inside the city of Rome. A curiosity about the calendar: the original Roman calendar only had 10 months. The 2 extra months, July and August, were added by Julius Caesar and Augustus. Romans ate 3 times a day, so very similar to what we do today. They were usually having breakfast, small lunch, and then a big supper. Wealthy people were using these beds to eat called triclinium. They were only used by wealthy people to lay down and eat. Much of the Roman diet of privileged people would be very familiar to a modern Italian. They were eating meat, mostly boar, hare, and birds, but they were also eating fish, such as clams, oysters, octopus, and of course also vegetables, and mostly they were eating cabbage and also beans and peas. They also had bread that was made with spelt flour, and then they were drinking something that is very similar to wine. The Bishop of Rome, called the Pope, was very important since the early days of Christianity. This is why the city became the center of the Catholic Church, and it is still to these days. After the fall of Western Roman Empire in 476, Rome was under the control of the Ostrogoths before returning to the East Roman Empire. After the Lombard invasion, the city remained Byzantine. The popes pursued a policy of peace between the Byzantine, the Franks, and the Lombards. In 1756, Pepin the gave the Pope temporal jurisdiction over the Roman Duchy, creating the Papal State. And this is really important. Since this period, three powers tried to rule the city: the Pope, noble families in Rome, and the Franks. On Christmas night of the year 800, Charlemagne was crowned in Rome as the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire by the Pope himself. And after a decade of Carolingian power, and also a lot of internal chaos where the noble families were fighting against the Pope and the Emperor, the city became a city-state. We saw this already for Venice and Florence, and this is the 12th century. In this period, the papacy played a role of big importance in Western Europe. The city was, as I mentioned, shattered by these continuous fights between the aristocratic Roman families like the Colonna, the Orsini, and the Conti. After Pope Bonifacio VIII died, the papacy was briefly relocated to Avignon in France between 1309 and 1377. And then Rome became again the seat of the papacy in 1377. During the Renaissance in 1418, with the Council of Constance, there was a period of internal peace that marked the beginning of Renaissance in Rome. During those years, the center of the Italian Renaissance was moving from Florence to Rome, back and forth. And this is why also many of the greatest artists from these times were moving between the two cities. Majestic works such as the St. Peter's Basilica, the Sistine Chapel were created during this time. And to accomplish that, the popes engaged the best artists of their time, including Michelangelo, Perugino, Raffaello, Ghirlandaio, Botticelli, and many, many others. So the Renaissance really changed the face of Rome in a dramatic and beautiful way, and the city reached the highest point of splendor under Pope Julius II, 1503-1513, and the two Medici popes, Clemente VII and Leo the 10th, I'm sorry. In this 20 years period, Rome became one of the greatest center of art in the whole world. In more modern times, in 1807, Rome was annexed to Napoleon Kingdom. And then in 1814, the Papal States were reconstituted after the fall of Napoleon. Rome became later the capital of Italy in 1871. In 1922, Rome witnessed the rise of the Italian fascism led by Benito Mussolini, who basically marched into the city. And Mussolini also signed the Lateran Treaty, Patti Lateranensi, which is this agreement between the Kingdom of Italy and the Pope that officially created the Vatican State as an independent state. The years between 1950 and 60 are known as the years of La Dolce Vita, because this is the time of the big Italian economic miracle. So now I want to show you some of the main sites of the city. Of course, it's impossible to do everything. I'm also a little bit behind because we lost time at the beginning of the meeting, but we'll see where we can get. I'm going to do a few sites from ancient Rome's, like the Pantheon, the Colosseum, and then we're going to talk about the catacombs. And then we're going to do buildings from the Renaissance and Baroque period, like the St. Peter's Basilica and Square, and then Sistine Chapel and the Trevi Fountain. So we are going to visit together the Pantheon. The Pantheon is a former Roman temple. It's now a Catholic church, Basilica di Santa Maria e Martiri. The name Pantheon is from Greek and it means of old gods. The original temple was commissioned by Marcus Agrippa during the reign of Augustus, and you can still see the inscription in the portico of the church. This says basically Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius, made this building when consul for the third time. This is what it means, the inscription in the front. The Pantheon was rebuilt by the Emperor Adrian around 126 AD. The interior has the shape of a cylinder covered by half of a sphere. In 609, the Byzantine emperor gave the building to the Pope, who converted the Pantheon into a Christian church, as I mentioned, for St. Mary. The Pantheon was spoliated as the majority of the Rome's ancient buildings during the early medieval period. The spoliation was this common process during the Middle Ages, where ancient monuments were progressively stripped of the reusable materials until the materials run out. Since the Renaissance, the Pantheon has been the site of several important burials. Among these buried here are, for instance, Raffaello. Brunelleschi himself, that we saw together when we talk about the dome in Florence, looked at the Pantheon as an inspiration for his work. And Pope Urban VIII ordered at one point that the bronze ceiling of the Pantheon was melted down, and the same bronze was used by Bernini to create the famous baldachin in St. Peter's Basilica. But definitely the main feature of the Pantheon is the dome. The dome weighs about 4,000 tons and has a diameter of 142 feet. To give you a comparison, the US Capitol dome is 19.6 feet. The great architectural achievement was due to the fact that the dome is built with cement. So Roman engineers came up with this brilliant solution, and they decided to line the dome as much as possible, not only decreasing the thickness of the dome. So the base is about 6 meters, and the cement, the concrete, is thinner towards the oculus, and it's about 1 meter there. But they were also mixing rocks to concrete. For the base, for the heavy base, they use travertine rocks. And for the part next to the oculus, they use the pumice, which is a very light rock. The oculus is the eye of the building, and it's the only natural source of light in the interior with the entry door of the Pantheon. It also serves as a cooling and ventilation system. When it rains, the water gets collected inside the building in this drainage system below the floor, and this system can handle all the water coming from the oculus. On April 21st, which is the birthday of Rome, the midday sun around noon entering from the oculus project this beam of light that centers perfectly with the bronze door on the entryway. So now we're going to watch a video that shows you the Pantheon. Now we are going, of course, to see together the Colosseum, also known as the Flavian Amphitheater. It is an oval amphitheater in the historical center of Rome. built of travertine limestone and brick face concrete. It is the largest amphitheater ever built, and it was able to hold between 50 and 80,000 spectators. So it's really similar to one of our modern stadium. The name Colosseum is believed to be derived from a colossal statue of Emperor Nero. The one stood nearly in this area. This was a bronze statue, 98 feet tall, that was commissioned from the emperor itself, and it was called the Colossum. So the Colosseum got his name from this statue. And by the year 1000, the name Colosseum had been coined to refer to the amphitheater. The site chosen for the construction of the Colosseum was this flat area between Roman hills that was not habitated because it was devastated by the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD. The construction of the amphitheater began under the rule of Vespasiano around 70-72 AD, and it had been completed up to the third story by the time of Vespasiano's death in 79. The top level was finished by Vespasiano's son Tito in 80 AD, and the inaugural games were held by under Tito in 81 AD, and it was the first crazy celebration where games went on for days and days, and over 9,000 wild animals were killed during these games. We'll see that animal hunt was one of the show that the Colosseum housed. In 217, a fire damaged the Colosseum. That was fully repaired only between 240 and 250. The Colosseum also survived to a huge earthquake in 1349. During modern times, it really didn't go under any major changes, but it was mostly a stabilization and restoration project. Let's take a look closer to the exterior of the Colosseum. The Colosseum is an entirely freestanding structure, is elliptical in plan with a base area of 6 acres. The height of the outer wall is 157 feet. The surviving part of the outer walls comprise 3 stories of what is called superimposed arcades. These arcades are framed by these half columns that you see in the pictures of the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian order. The Colosseum huge crowd capacity made it really essential that the venue could be filled and also evacuated really quickly. And this is why the Colosseum has 80 entrances at the ground level, and 76 of which were used by ordinary spectators. Let's take a look inside. So the spectators were seated in a tier arrangement that reflected the structure of the Roman society, which was really rigid. So special boxes were provided for the emperor to enjoy the best view of the arena. At the same level were seated the senators. So in some of these seats, you still can see today names of the senators, and this was probably a way to reserve the seats. Above the senators, there were the nobles, and then the next level was divided into 2 sections for regular citizens, the wealthy ones and the poor ones. The arena itself was 272 by 157 feet, and it was covered by a wooden floor that you see in the picture there. It was, this is of course not the original. And then the wooden floor was covered with sand on top. The Latin word for sand is arena, and that's how it became an arena. Under the floor, there is a network of tunnels and cages that is still visible to these days, where gladiators and animals were held. This subterranean system was built under the Emperor Domitiano. And because of that, from this point on, the Colosseum was never used again for naval battles. So naval battles were not very common, but it looks like the Colosseum was used at least once for a water battle in 86 AD, but it's still very unclear actually how the amphitheater was adapted to become waterproof. We know that there was a very complex hydraulic system, but other than that, it remains a mystery on how the Colosseum was filled with water to host this naval battle. So let's take a look together at the Colosseum. That's left. And next time we're going to learn more about gladiator fights, and then we'll do the catacombs together. So now I'm going to open to you. If you have any questions, I can try to answer.
I have a question about the Pantheon. Do they still do something on April 21st there in celebration of that day?
That's a good question. I don't know. Now it's a Catholic church, so probably there's some kind of celebration that they do during Rome's birthday. I'm pretty sure there's something going on. I'll find out for you and I'll let you know.
You know, Benedetta, I wanted to tell you that when we visited Rome, we had to wait to go into the Pantheon because of a wedding. And it's first of all a parish church, and that's priority. And I wondered, can you get wet if you're at a service in the Pantheon?
Yeah, because I mean the oculus is right in the middle, and water comes down. I mean, there's a drainage system in the floor, but it comes down. So I'm sure they put probably the altar in a position that it's probably far away from the oculus.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Benedetta, a personal question. When did you come to the States? I may have missed it in the beginning. And what made you come and live over here instead of leaving that beautiful city behind?
Love, my husband.
American?
I know, yeah. There was, I mean, we were supposed to be here only for, let's say, a few years, to do a kind of adventure. And now I think I'm going for my 14 years here. So life is unpredictable, right?
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Especially at this time.
Oh, yes, you're so right. Yes. Yeah. But we're lucky. We get to go to Italy every year. So.
That's good. And you have children who were born here in the States?
Yeah, I have American children. I'm not American yet, but I have American children.
Lovely.
Yes.
How many? Two?
Two, yes. Two boys, Francesco and Leonardo.
Okay.
And Francesco is my grandson's friend.
Oh, so Marilyn, is it you? I can't see you. Yes.
Yeah.
So is Mark your grandchildren? Your grandchild?
Yeah, my grandson Mark is Francesco's friend.
Oh, that's so I know Mark. Yes.
Small world.
That's a small world. Yeah. These poor kids are so good to do online school, right? I feel so bad.
Yeah, but they're, I mean, I've got to say, Montclair, they're doing an amazing job.
Yes.
The online learning. Yes, it's not ideal, but under the circumstances, and
Absolutely.
Now this class is making me want to go to Italy. I have to go to Sicily and see my roots, and then I have to go and see the mainland, and I hope that we can do that sometime in the not too distant future, because we're not getting tougher.
So I'm sure you'll be able to pretty soon. And then I was planning to do a winter class and to include Palermo and Sicily on it. So I mean, hopefully you'll be able to take the class if it's running.
Yeah.
We'll
Do you
see.
know Sicily well?
No, I've never been. Can you believe it? I've never
Oh,
been to
wow.
Sicily.
Well, you know,
No.
it's like a lot of people here haven't been to the Statue of Liberty or
It's on my bucket list for so long now. Yes, I know I have to go.
yeah.
And
Well,
is the Coliseum still open on the bottom to visitors?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the
I
platform
was
still there?
there. Yes, I was there like 4 years ago. And yes, you can enter inside. There's like guided tours, or you can go by yourself. There's a huge line. It's unbelievable. But I mean, if you have to get tickets in advance, but you can visit the inside of the Colosseum. Yeah.
Hmm.
They used to do, concert inside, and I think I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but like modern, musicians and some like theater, but only for a few people.
Doesn't the Pope have Good Friday services there, or is that only 1 or 2 times?
I don't know that.
I don't know. I seem to remember that, but not positive.
I don't know about that.
Might have been about 9, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was studying there in Rome.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah.
you
Oh my
went to
God. I got to
visit.
spend 2 weeks with her there. It was
Oh, how beautiful.
phenomenal.
How
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hello,
Did you eat
Benedetta.
good food?
How far is the Colosseum from the city center?
It's right there. It's really close. It's right in the center. I remember it's really like walkable city. You do like a lot of walk, but you can pretty much walk everywhere.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Benedetta, did you manage to look up the movie I suggested you watch, Don't Look Now?
Yes, I did.
did?
Indeed, I did. Well, wow, it's a wild movie actually. I like it though.
Yes, yeah.
I really do. I like, like spirits and like mystery stuff. So thank you for the suggestion.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sorry, what was the name of the film?
It's Don't Look Now. And it's
Okay.
based in Florence, and it's this story about spirits and mystery, and this couple. It's American.
Ah.
They're American couple.
Donald
Yes.
Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie.
Yes, and he's a conservator actually, which is interesting because that's a little bit of my background. I studied conservation too, so it was the perfect movie for me.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah.
There's another movie that I saw, and it was starring Liv Ullmann, and she's 40 years old. The name of the movie is called 40 Carats, I think. She's 40 and she meets this Italian man who's like 19 years old, and there was a love story. It's a beautiful movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite movie about Italy is Under the Tuscan Sun, because I'm from Tuscany. So every time I watch that movie, I don't know if you ever watch it, it's really beautiful. I cry. I can really help it. And I cry every time that I see these beautiful scenes about Tuscany.
Yeah, Diane Lane. It's a nice movie.
Yes, such a nice movie. Yeah.
Place and renovates it.
Beautiful movie. Yeah, we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Benedetta.
Yes. So if there's no additional questions, I'm going to end the meeting, and I'll see you Monday, and we're going to learn more about Rome.
Yay.
Monday.
Thank you. That was
Well,
lovely.
have a good week. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.